Okay, let's create a new blog post in WordPress. There are 3 different ways to create a new blog post. First of all, from the admin bar at the top of the screen, you can hover over the word new and click on post. Or from the main admin menu, you can click on posts and then click add new post right here. And the third way that we could create a blog post is to go to the posts area and then click on add new post at the top of the screen here. So when we are creating a new blog post, we use these buttons that you see at the top of the screen, such as toggle block inserter. And to effectively create a new blog post, you need to know what all of these buttons do. So that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to show you all of these buttons. The first button that we have is toggle block inserter. And if we just click on that, it's just going to open this panel here that shows us all of the blocks that we can drag and drop into our page just like that. So that's a quick example of how you could drag and drop an image block into your new blog post. And then you could click on upload here to upload a file, or you could click on media library to access an image that's already been uploaded, or you can insert from URL. So continuing with this button that we pressed up here, which is the block inserter, I'm going to click on that again to hide the block inserter panel. And now we move on to the second button, which is tools. So we can click on that, and that allows us to use our cursor as an edit or a select cursor. So we can click on select, and then we can move our mouse, and if we had more blocks on the page, we could select a block more easily. And then once it's selected, we could switch back to edit that block. So after tools, we have the undo button, that's self-explanatory, and we have the redo button. Next to that, we have the document overview. So we'll click on that, and you can see this gives us 2 tabs, list view and outline. You can see that the outline view is going to give us an outline of all of the headings in our blog post, as well as a character count, number of words, time to read. And you can see that the list view is just going to be a list of all of the blocks on our page. So you can use this view right here, the document overview, to get a more comprehensive view of your blog post. Okay, I'm going to click on that to make that go away. And the next button we have is Edit with Elementor. And if you have a brand new WordPress site with nothing installed on it, then you probably won't see this button. But if your WordPress website does have a page builder installed, such as Elementor, like my website does, then you will see this Edit with Elementor button. And if you wanted, you could edit this blog post using the Elementor page builder instead of the default WordPress page builder. So we'll talk more about that later. For now, let's move on to the next button, which is Save Draft. That is self-explanatory. That's just going to save the current blog post that you're working on. It's going to save it as a draft so that you don't lose your work. Keep in mind that after you save the draft, that is not published. It's not public on the web yet. It's invisible to visitors on the front end, but you can see it on the back end as the admin. So the next button we have is the preview button. You can click on that to open a preview of your blog post so that you can get an idea of how that looks before you publish the blog post. So this is a preview. I'm going to close that. And after the preview button, we have the publish button. So that is self-explanatory. Once you're ready to make this blog post live, just go ahead and hit that publish button. After that, we have this icon that is Astra settings, and that is particular to the theme that I'm using. So you probably won't have this button in your theme, or you could have a button that represents a different theme. Next, we have this Yoast SEO button. And once again, your website may or may not have this installed. If it does, then you will see this button. And if we click on that, that's just going to show us some SEO stuff about this blog post so that we can maximize the SEO as we create the blog post. All right, wrapping up the last few buttons here, we have the settings button. Let's click on the settings button. And this is actually probably the most important part of this page. We have 2 tabs here. We have the post tab and we have the block tab. So we can change the settings for this individual blog post in this post tab right here. You can see the visibility of this blog post. You can see whether this is going to be published immediately or scheduled. And you can see what template this is using. You can see the URL of this page, which we can change later. That's also known as the slug or the permalink. We can check this box to make this post sticky or featured. That's not super important. And you can make this post pending for review if you want someone else to authorize it before it's published. We have our post format. You don't have to worry about that too much yet. Once we get into SEO and stuff, you can pay a little bit more attention to this area, but for now, let's move on. We have the author, you can leave that. And we have a button to move this blog post to the trash. After that, we have our Yoast SEO area. And once again, if you don't have this plugin installed yet, then you will not see this area, but you should install this plugin. It's the best plugin for SEO. We'll talk more about SEO in a different video. After SEO, we have our categories. So you can just change the categories that this blog post goes into, or you can add a new category here. And then we have our tags. Let's check out our tags. You can add tags just like hashtags for Twitter or Instagram, something like that. So a tag would just be a word that describes the blog post, basically. And then we have our featured image. So this is a very important part of the new post screen. You can click on Set Featured Image. This brings up the media library. We can select an image, click on Set Featured Image at the bottom right corner, and then you see the image appear here. We can click Replace or Remove. Then we have an option to only show the featured image in a list of all your blog posts, as opposed to also showing the featured image in the blog post itself, because that can cause some clutter. So I'm going to hit that box right there. And then we have our excerpt. So an excerpt is just a short summary of the blog post, and that's going to show up in a list of blog posts so that the actual content of the blog post doesn't overrun your page, basically. So you can have a short little kind of summary. Last but not least, we have this discussion area. We can allow comments or disallow comments. I'm going to disallow comments, and then I'm going to scroll to the top here, and I'm going to click on publish just to publish our blog post. And it says, are you ready to publish? It says double check. And you know what? I'm actually going to give this blog post a title. So there we go, my sample blog post. Now I'm going to click on publish to publish that blog post. After it's published, it says the post is now live. You can click on this to view the blog post. Then it gives you the post address, which you can copy with this button here. You can click View Post to view the post here, or you can click Add New Post to continue adding new blog posts. So I'm going to click the little X in the top right corner to get rid of that notification. And then now that we're done with this Post Settings tab, I'm going to move on to the Block Settings tab. And as you can see, it says no block selected. So what we're going to do is select the image block that we placed earlier. And then now in the block settings tab, you can see that we have some settings. And you can see we have some sub tabs here. We have settings and we have styles. So under settings, we have a setting for aspect ratio. We can change that. We can leave it original. And then we have width and height. So this is just an example of how you can select any block in WordPress and then go to that settings area up here. And then once you have that settings panel open, you can go to the block tab to change the settings for this individual block. In addition to this settings tab, don't forget we have the styles tab, so you can change the look and feel of this block after we put some content in there, basically. And just to kind of complete this image block here, I'm going to click on Media Library. And then let's just go ahead and click on this image here. We'll click Select in the bottom right-hand corner. And now our image is actually in the page. Now I'm going to click on Update in the top right corner to update the changes that we've made so that we don't lose our changes. Okay, so we just finished the Settings button in the WordPress new post screen. Now we have one button left on that top row of buttons to check out, and that's the Options button. So let's go ahead and click on that Options button right there that has the 3 dots. And this is also one of the most important buttons in this view because we have these options here, such as Top Toolbar, Spotlight Mode, Full Screen Mode, and Distraction Free. And by default, this should be at Top Toolbar, which allows you to see all of these buttons. But if this gets changed to something like Spotlight Mode, then things can start to get a little bit funky. So I leave Spotlight Mode unchecked. And then if we use Full Screen Mode, that can get funky too. I really don't like that, so I leave that unchecked. And if this accidentally gets turned on, it's good to know that you can turn it off by coming to this area and then clicking this to uncheck this. And we also have distraction free mode, but once again, I don't like that because I don't have a full view, so I leave that unchecked. And last but not least, for these options here, I do like to check that box that says Top Toolbar. So I like to make sure that that's checked so that we can see that toolbar at all times. And in the next section here, we have editor, which allows us to switch between the visual editor, which is the WYSIWYG editor, the drag and drop editor, or we can switch to the code editor, which is really just for developers. So if you're a coder, you can go ahead and change the code here, but I strongly recommend that you don't change that. Go ahead and stay in the visual editor. After that, we have some plugin settings, and we have these settings for my theme Astra, and we have Yoast SEO settings. Moving toward the bottom of this settings menu, we have tools, which allows us to manage patterns, keyboard shortcuts, welcome guide, copy all blocks, and help, and even a preferences area. So that covers the last button in the top toolbar here. Now that we know how to use all those buttons, we can make a good blog post. So an example of some ways that we could insert some content here is basically click on this plus, this toggle block inserter in the top left of the screen. And then let's just go ahead and drag paragraph above that image there and drop it right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just drop a paragraph block into our web page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll down below this image here, and I'm going to drag and drop paragraph into that area right there, and then just drop that. And we should have an area where we can enter text. So I added some text. Now let's go ahead and add a heading. So I'm going to click on the plus, then I'm going to type in the word heading, and then we're just going to drag and drop heading into the page area here. And then I can just put some text in the heading there. And then if I hit enter, it's going to add a new line, default it as a paragraph, and then we can just add some more text here. That's the basic way that you can create a blog post using this default editor. You just use blocks using that toggle block inserter button. Click on that to open that panel. And it shows you the most used blocks here first, which you're probably going to use 90% of the time. You can add a paragraph, a heading, an image, a list, or a YouTube video. So I recommend that you practice adding all of these types of elements into your blog post so that you can become familiar with that. So that's just a brief overview of how to create a post. In a different video, we'll go into this in more detail, such as filling out the Yoast SEO area. But this should get us a quick overview of how to make a page. And in addition to making this page, you should know how this page is going to show up when you actually browse your website. So I'm going to view the website here. And since we created a new blog post, we should be able to view that blog post in the blog page of our website. So I'm going to click on this blog page in our website from the main menu of the website. And if we scroll down a little bit, you can see there is my sample blog post. So there is the blog post that we just created right here. You can see this is basically a summary of that blog post. In fact, you can see where the excerpt that we created just says short summary. And then we can click on read more, or we can click on this title or the image to read the full blog post. And if we scroll down, you can see other blog posts that I've made. But if we want to view the blog post that we just created, we can just click on that blog post, and there we have our blog post right here. So that's just a quick overview of how you can create a blog post in WordPress. Before we finish this video, I'm going to show you some more important things about managing posts. First, I'm going to show you 3 ways to create a new blog post. Then I'm going to show you 3 ways to edit an existing blog post. And then I'm going to show you 3 ways to delete a blog post. So first off, 3 ways to create a new blog post. Method number 1, in the admin bar, just hover over the word new and click on post. Method number 2, from within the back end or the WordPress dashboard, when you can see this vertical list of buttons. For method 2, under posts, you can click on add new post right here. And now for the third method, under posts in the dashboard, you can click on all posts to see the list of all blog posts in your site. And then from here, you can click on add new post. So that was 3 ways to create a new blog post. Now let's look at 3 ways to edit a blog post. So the first method, when you're viewing all of your posts like this, you can just hover over a blog post and click on edit. You can also click on quick edit just to edit some basic things. So that takes care of the first method to edit a blog post. And when we are viewing a blog post, when you're logged into the site, you can click on edit post at the top of the screen to edit this blog post. And method number 3, we're going to go back to the list of all of our blog posts. And method number 3, we can edit multiple blog posts at one time and then click on bulk actions, click on edit, then click apply. And now we are bulk editing the selected blog posts. We can change any of these available attributes. That was 3 ways to edit a blog post. Now let's check out 3 ways to delete a blog post. So method number 1, once again from this all posts view, we can hover over a blog post and then click on trash to move that into the trash. We can also check the boxes next to any blog posts and then click on this bulk actions menu and then select move to trash and then click apply. So that was the second method. Now let's take a look at the third method. So when we are in the edit screen for a blog post, we can simply just click on the settings button in the top right corner. And then once that panel is active, we can go ahead and just click on move to trash, and that will delete this blog post. That's 3 ways to delete a blog post. So now you know 3 ways to create a blog post, 3 ways to edit, and 3 ways to delete a blog post. And you also know where to view all of your blog posts right here in the dashboard under all posts. I'll go over different steps in more detail, but I hope this helped you. If you learned something, then please give this video a like, make sure you're subscribed, and enjoy learning WordPress.